All right, welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe on TV 47 with me, Fred Indimuli. Time for us to take a look at the big headlines. Of course, what's happening in Parliament with the bribery scandal following the pronouncements or the claims by President William Ruto of the perversion and the level of corruption within Parliament, still making it on the front pages. Secrets of MPs bribery scandal is a big story on the front page of the Daily Nation. The Standard, of course, has chosen to go with the return of the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. We'll be getting to that in a short while. But when it comes to the war on corruption, it is a big discussion, and it would appear that we seem to have a reawakening, that the war against corruption has come back on the front pages, especially with the declaration by the President informing that multi-agency task force on corruption, which experienced a legal hurdle yesterday when it was temporarily halted by the courts. Let's take a look at that story on the courts hurdle on anti-corruption team before I introduce my panelists this morning.
Just 2 days after President William Ruto declared corruption a disaster within parliamentary committees, his new decision to form a multi-agency team to address corruption issues has hit a wall. On Wednesday, Justice Bahati Mwamuye ruled that the proclamation establishing the team should be suspended, pending full hearing and determination of the case. The ruling follows a petition filed in the High Court by 4 petitioners challenging the establishment of the presidential multi-agency team on war against corruption, a body unveiled recently to spearhead Kenya's renewed fight against graft. The petitioners argue that under Article 132 of the Constitution, the President has no powers to establish an anti-corruption agency, since such functions are reserved for independent commissions and statutory bodies. The activists further claim that placing the team under the office of the President undermines transparency, accountability, and the principle of separation of powers. The petition also raises concerns over the funding and composition of the team, arguing that its budget is to be drawn from allocations of member agencies and unspecified sources. The Executive Office of the President was expected to chair the multi-agency team, while the Office of the Attorney General would head the Secretariat. The main mandate of the multi-agency team on war against corruption was to create synergy and interagency cooperation in the fight against corruption, economic crimes, and related offences. The new team draws membership from the Executive Office of the President, the Office of the Attorney General, the National Intelligence Service NIS, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission EACC, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions ODPP, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations DCI, and the Financial Reporting Center. Others include the Asset Recovery Agency ARA, Kenya Revenue Authority KRA, Central Bank of Kenya CBK, and the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority PPRA. Among other objectives, the multi-agency team was to enhance collaboration among agencies, engage other arms of government and the private sector, mobilize resources for the anti-graft campaign, share best practices, and develop effective communication strategies to raise public awareness. The matter will be mentioned on September 9, 2025 to confirm compliance. Paul Kirobi, TV 47, Nairobi.
Yes, the war on corruption back on the front pages. But what is the intention? Is it a coincidence that days after the President talked about corruption within the Houses of Parliament, he formed a multi-agency task force to handle corruption? And what are the reasons behind this? This is a main focus on the story on the front page of the Daily Nation. Secrets of MPs bribery scandal. MPs and analysts are reading a pattern in President Ruto's latest bribery attacks on Parliament, investigations into government scandals, enactment of anti-graft laws, compensation for victims of state attacks, and a looming hostile probe by the US. It is a main focus on pages 4 and 5 of this paper. And that's where we start this morning. Allow me to introduce my panelists, beginning on my immediate right. Mwalimu Wilson Sosion, who's a former member of the National Assembly and has also served as Secretary General of the National Union of Teachers, KNUT. Danson Mungatana, Senator Tana River. And Samson Orao, who's a governance expert and is currently the Interim Executive Director, ActionAid Kenya. Gentlemen, karibuni sana.
Asante.
Bwana Sosion, you've been in that National Assembly. Do you agree with the President, and let's start from there, that corruption within Parliament has gotten to some levels that need to be checked?
Parliament. I think generally, if we speak factually and we speak truth, corruption is a way of life in all institutions. in Kenya. That's a fact. And Parliament may not be an exception. And I'm not saying Parliament as an institution. Individuals can be involved. And when individuals are involved as individuals, the other members may not even know. And when members of the executive are involved, the others may not know. So really, when the president speaks and alleges to intelligence, and is pointing to some members having done so. And this is not the first time members of parliament are being accused of different accusations, and this has been done even in the past as individuals. Mm-hmm. So to me, I think making this allegation collective is not right.
But who's making it collective? The president said some people...
No, the way it is being taken.
I think the only collective thing is a reaction to members of parliament.
Yes.
Do you understand why they are collectively angry at the president?
Yeah, so for me, if indeed there are individuals as persons who are engaged in bribes, then that is not parliament doing it. It is individuals who are in parliament. And for me, this is a Damascus moment for this country in terms of corruption. There must be a turnaround. And the president has displayed that body language very clearly, has sent out the message very clearly. He has signed a proclamation, which of course was set aside by the court yesterday. But the determination, the spirit, the resolve is already communicated to all of us.
Okay.
And for me, I would be very happy if the so-said individuals and persons who are extorting money, allegedly, so that they can influence businesses in parliament, both in legislation and also in terms of reports. Because if reports are doctored and if legislations are also aligned due to inducement, that would be the worst thing. So to me, they are criminally culpable.
Okay.
And it should not be a theory of talk. I think this country must criminalize and punish corruption without exception.
We have a member of parliament with us.
There should be no exception.
There seems to be a lot of irritation within the Houses of Parliament following the pronouncements by the president. And we're focusing on the pronouncement on corruption first. The president did not put a blanket blame on Parliament. He said some people. How come the reaction and the irritation appears to be across board, across both houses, and everyone is angry at the president?
Fred, I had the fortune of being present in that meeting. And I remember very well, he said there is corruption in Parliament. Okay? So, of course, by implication, it is not the entire Parliament, but some people who are within the members, some members. That was the implication. So there is understandably anger because people want to know who are these individuals. In fact, when he gave the example of the 10 million shillings received, he asked, do you know about it? And some people said no. Mm-hmm. But then still, he went on to discuss that corruption, like there is a problem within the House, that both houses. So, you know, visibly, people were feeling that the president is generalizing and doesn't want to pinpoint at specific persons. And when the push came that, no, you should name these people, right in the meeting, he said no, because they said name them and shame them. That was the shouting that was going on. And he said, no, I will not name and shame. I will arrest. Mm-hmm. Okay? So the people, even in the meeting, were feeling that don't generalize, focus on the individuals and take the action. So then the president says something, and this is something I want us to understand. He said he's a consumer of raw intelligence, okay? So he knows things that we may not know because we are not, at least at that level of intelligence briefing, we are not there. I think it's him and other people who get that kind of intelligence. Now, intelligence is not evidence, okay? You can't use intelligence in court. You can't use intelligence in a parliamentary committee, whether it's a Senate committee or a National Assembly committee or a county assembly committee. Because intelligence is just intelligence. Intelligence is information. Now, the process of changing intelligence to evidence, it's a process. It needs time. It needs quiet investigations, because I can make an accusation that there are carjackings along Thika Road, okay? And then, yeah, there's information. We have seen some people dressed like this, and they normally come at this time. That is information that amounts to intelligence, okay? But then for you to pick that this is the person that must be charged, must be arrested, you must have evidence. Otherwise, intelligence will not amount to evidence. So how you treat intelligence is the decision of the consumer of that intelligence. That's why people were saying, no, don't stop at telling us intelligence. Convert that intelligence into evidence and then take the necessary action.
Do you feel like the president is mishandling this war on corruption, especially when it comes to the Houses of Parliament?
From where I sit, and as a sitting senator, the law says corruption will take place and those to be punished, or those who face potential punishment, the giver and the taker of that corruption. Mm-hmm. So any person who is giving, any person who is receiving, both of them are guilty of the same. So it is not complete. It's not a complete sentence to say you received, but you're not naming the giver. Okay. But there's one more point I wanted to make, and which is something that we need to think about. Parliament, both the National Assembly and the Senate, where I sit, is a reflection of the society, okay? We have professors there, and we have people who are not so learned. We have business people, we have professionals. We have all mix of life, very religious people and very bad people. All of them are there. So Kenya truly is represented in the National Assembly. Kenya is truly represented in the Senate. So when there are fingers being pointed there, it is a reflection of what is happening in the society.
One more question.
And I think something needs to be understood, that if we are to succeed, then we must accept we have a problem as a society, and then we set the mechanisms to deal with it.
Before I engage Bwana Rao, it's how this pronouncement by the president have affected the workings of the Houses of Parliament.
Yes.
Yesterday, for example, because we've had that even the National Assembly, there are threats to sabotage policies and laws that come from government.
Correct.
Now from the Senate, because you have your own concerns, yesterday you were called upon to deal with a matter on impeachment.
Yes.
And it is one of the routes where, according to the president, that money is being collected. So I don't know, did it in any way affected some of the decisions that were made yesterday in the Senate? Because, for example, I know that senators chose to go the plenary way instead of a committee way.
Yes.
Was that informed in any way by this debate about corruption?
Okay, so on impeachment, the Speaker spoke very eloquently and gave direction on what needs to be done. He reacted on behalf of the House, as the head of the House, of the Senate, on the allegations of corruption. And he brought to the attention of Kenya that in Parliament, both the National Assembly and the Senate, if there is conduct unbecoming, there is an act of Parliament that was passed called the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act. And in particular, Section 16 of that law, Cap 6 of the laws of Kenya, it gives you the procedure under which you will make your complaint. And you make the complaint, say if it's a senator, to the Speaker of the Senate. The Speaker of the Senate is the chair of the Privileges Committee. So he will convene that committee, which is comprised of a number of senators, the senior ones, And then if it is a senator, you will be called before the committee. You will be told, this is what you are doing, and we want to hear your side of the story before you are condemned to the punishments that are available to senators. So the truth of the matter is that the Speaker, since the inception of this Senate, in this current Senate, he has not received any complaint. So he was encouraging, if there is a complaint, not just from the president, but any other person, they can come and bring before him, and action will be taken. Going to impeachment, since 2014, there has been 19 impeachments, okay? And these impeachments, 8 of them, they were confirmed. That means the guys who were brought, the governor, senators, deputy president, they were confirmed. The charges were confirmed, which means the impeachment went through. 9 of them, the charges were dismissed. 2 of them, 9 of them, the charges were not confirmed. That means those accused by the assemblies, either county assemblies in this particular case, they didn't make a case. So the Senate refused to confirm those charges. But 2 of those charges, the Senate dismissed the charges, saying that it didn't meet the threshold. For example, the previous case of Governor Eric Mutai of Kericho, when it came the first time, the Senate looked at the threshold. The 2/3 majority to pass the motion for impeachment was not met, so it was dismissed. So two particular cases were dismissed. Now, the one that is before the Senate today, the decision to go plenary or to go committee way is a decision of the House. And the House has, in many occasions, looked at because the charges are read, and then the House decides, do we go committee, do we go plenary? And in many occasions...
Before, yes, but I'm asking, is this decision this time round affected in any way by the pronouncements by the president?
No, I don't think so, because the people in the Senate, they look at the charges. Like, I was present yesterday, and when you hear the charges, sometimes you look at it and you think, this is a matter that committee should deal with. Like the first time Eric Mutai was before the Senate, the governor, Eric Mutai, was before the Senate. The issue was, hey, this one, should we listen to it? It seems like there are issues about the thresholds. So let the committee look at it. And then it was dismissed. But then here, the charges and whatever, and there's 33 out of 37 members of the county assembly who have confirmed. So we don't have issues with the thresholds. We don't have issues with the... Most people in the Senate want, okay, I want to hear this. So then the decision is taken. We want to hear it. I don't think the president... In fact, let me say this. Right now, the president is not very popular in both houses. So I don't think he has much influence in what people will decide.
Not necessarily the influence by the president, but the fact that members of the Senate are angry and would not want to be seen to be in a position to take bribes at the committee level. But let's take a short break before I come to Bwana Samson Orao to give us, from a governor's perspective, if this is how matters corruption should be handled. You're watching Morning Cafe.
The last 4 impeachments, everybody has wanted to hear.
Excuse me, Kwanza, sorry. I wanted to engage Mbaye when it comes to Rigath's return. Hi, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
How are you, sir?
Very well.
I'm told you're already at JKIA waiting for the former DP.
Yes, I'm at the JKIA. Yes.
Great. Wacha tumalize two discussions here, then we come there. You tell us the plan for today.
Okay, please.
Sawa sawa. Mwalimu Sosioni is saying good morning.
At Olenguruani tomorrow.
Good morning. Good morning to Morim.
Yeah, we meet Olenguruani tomorrow.
And the other panelists.
I need you at Olenguruani tomorrow.
Sawa sawa, Dr. Mbai. We'll engage you in a short while.
Then, okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe on TV 47 with me, Fred Ndimuli. We continue discussing matters to do with the fight against corruption, and this is the latest wave or the latest push by the president to fight corruption, both in parliament and the entire country, with the formation of that multi-agency task force. And we're just wondering what the intention is. I want to engage Samson Urao, who's a governance expert. He's also the interim executive director, Action Aid Kenya. Bwana Samson, karibu sana to TV.
Thank you, Ndimuli.
Listening to the legislators and former legislator and seeing the kind of behavior that our legislators are exhibiting following an accusation that they are engaging in corruption. Plus, what you're seeing in the papers, that even the president's push may not really be genuine. It may be because of other influences. What does that say about the fight against corruption? Are we mishandling it from the onset?
Ndimuli, first of all, the figures that the president is talking about are just mind-boggling. 150 million shillings. We are talking about money being exchanged in committees for transaction of business, when we know that members of parliament, both the National Assembly and the Senate, really, that's their day-to-day job. Legislate, pass bills, engage in policy formulation. So when you hear these kinds of figures, and when you hear other figures that we talk about elsewhere, you hear about the expressway having been, going into someone's pockets, and you talk about Aror and Kimwarer, and we talk about KEMSA and all these issues. The scourge that is corruption in this country is in a crisis. And the approach that we are using, for me, is lack of commitment. And I'll give it the president for one thing, that when he was campaigning, he didn't promise to fight corruption. It wasn't in his manifesto. And so sometimes when I look at either half efforts, lip-sided efforts, and so on, for me, it means that we as citizens all have to come up.
Do you see this as a half-hearted effort?
There's a very half-hearted, there's no commitment. Yeah. I mean, when you say that I know, and you're saying you're consuming raw intelligence, which by right and by his duty as president, elected by Kenyans, that's his responsibility, He's got access to the best intelligence. He's got access to every instrument of state. We've got legislation. We have the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. If we really wanted to investigate, we would be able to investigate. And if we really were committed, if the presidency wanted to walk the talk around corruption, then you would be able to see it. The challenge for me is that we speak about figures like their pocket change, and we look at how we get into some of these roles, perhaps the amounts of money that we spent into getting into these roles, and we also look at what we dish out there to the public for us to be able to get elected or for us to carry favor. And so I was a little disappointed or annoyed, maybe that's a better word, when we talk about facilitation to do your job. When I wake up every morning and I go to Action Aid where I work, I only expect my paycheck at the end of the month. I know the rest of the time the organization will facilitate my job, and I am supposed to meet my obligations to the communities and the Kenyans that we serve. So when you hear about people saying that for you to vote in a committee, for you to pass a law, for you to, companies and all these things are paying people and taking people to wherever, Mombasa, the coast, wherever. And even if you look at it, even at the devolved government level, you look at it and you see members of county assembly have to be facilitated, have got to be paid to do what essentially is their job. For me, it's really a lack of commitment, and I felt that it's too little late in the day for the president to come and say, we will not name and shame, we will arrest and prosecute, and then we don't see it followed by action.
Right. What do you make of this annoyance by the legislators after that accusation? These are the representatives of the people. This is a cream of society, that when it comes to the word corruption and just an accusation is leveled against them, they go haywire, they are so angry, they even threaten to sabotage.
There's a level of entitlement that has come upon legislators, and my two friends are here. And it's really something that we also see among a cross-section of Kenyans who feel they are perhaps a cut above the rest. And when you see people saying that we passed this thing, it was unpopular, but we passed it for you. You brought this finance bill and people didn't like it, but we did it for you. We've passed unpopular legislation for you. How can you threaten us? When I see members of parliament saying that, it leaves me asking myself, then who are they representing? And on whose behalf are they speaking? And people then become entitled. Getting into parliament, I'm not a member of parliament, never been, maybe never will. And looking at the means to get access, looking at perhaps the number of people you've got to buy, looking at the fact that you've got to have top-of-the-range vehicles and campaigns are expensive and so on. And then last year, at the height of the Gen Z protests in June 2024, and there was this thing, itapita mupende musipende. I mean, I keep asking myself, who does parliament represent? Right. On whose behalf do they speak? Because it looks like the moment someone gets into the August House, they are a special breed of Kenyans. That's why we've got to open the road. That's why you have a chase car. That's why traffic has to be blocked for you. That's why you want special treatment in public places. That's why you want to be recognized. Okay. For me, it comes to a point of, really, some of us, they are very good members of parliament who will go out of their way and who you will not notice. And I can mention a few. But the vast majority, you need to see me. You've got to recognize that I have arrived.
Right. It's a very unfortunate situation where, according to the feeling now, is that the formulation of legislation is now commercialized, and the roles that members of parliament play are fully commercialized, or are, to a huge extent, are commercialized. But away from that, the Daily Nation today,
I think that's correct.
I'll give you an opportunity to I said the feeling. I'm not saying that is a reality. The feeling among the general public is that the roles that members play have now been to a huge extent commercialized. But
it's not correct.
The intention on the Daily Nation about the fight against corruption is being questioned. What is the president's intention? Because he gains very little by antagonizing legislators who have, by and large, supporting him. And before you respond, because they say that probably is in response to some of the pressure coming from outside the country, the US, for example. The United Nations General Assembly is coming up in September. That probably even the Bretton Woods institutions are putting pressure for him to appear he's fighting corruption. Now he's accusing members of parliament of corruption, and he goes ahead a day later to form a multi-ANC task force for the same.
Now the president is leading the country on agenda of transformation, and he has made that intention very clear. And he has driven that agenda clearly for 3 years. There is a broad-based government, and there is a 10-point agenda that binds both President William Ruto and Raila Odinga.
On corruption?
And one of them is corruption. So we must know it is contained in the report. And the parliamentary group meeting, I don't sit there. I saw the presentation by the Technical Implementation Committee led by Dr. Sane, outlining the framework of implementing the MOU. And one of them is corruption. I saw Professor Makau Mutua give a presentation on compensation of those who have died in demonstrations between 2017 and 2025. Those are facts. You must know where every agenda originates from. And when the leadership of the two parties spoke, and President William Ruto elected to really attack the item on corruption and take a personal responsibility as the president of a sovereign state. Kenya is a sovereign state. It's not subject to other states outside. It's not. It's not subject to lending institutions. And the president has made it very clear that we are talking about how Singapore is doing well, how Malaysia and how those others. But those countries have kept their systems clean. They've eliminated corruption. The president is very deliberate and honest about it. And that is why I've said Kenya must have a Damascus moment. We should not be confused when it comes to agenda of fighting corruption. We should all agree to fight corruption.
Do you, for example, agree with Bwana Orao that the president was not as vocal in as far as fighting corruption in his campaign agenda and even for the first 3 years of his rule?
The president spoke about corruption during elections, and he said we cannot weaponize anti-corruption strategy, but rather strengthen institutions to do so and to fight corruption. He spoke about it. And according to me, the intention and spirit of the president are good, and I think if we are serious as a citizenship, and I have said, let us all have a Damascus moment and reflect. If there are individuals who probably might be taking bribes in parliament in accordance with intelligence information, that intelligence information must be transcribed to evidence, and even not just evidence, make those individuals with that information record statements with EACC, and it is time that we strengthen EACC. If the DPP cannot prosecute based on reports, then EACC should be given prosecutorial powers. It should be given more rigor, and maybe it is almost a time that we have a national conference on anti-corruption.
Maybe if I can just add something.
Yes, Bwana Orao. Let's allow Bwana Orao because of time, yes?
Let me just, if I can just add something. And I like what Mheshimiwa Sosion is saying. The thing for me is, beyond the talk, where's the commitment? And that's where those of us who are in this governance space do not see. We've got the legislation, we've got EACC, the president consumes intelligence. If there are any enabling institutions that are required, it is there. The question that has been there is, where is the whale? In just the past 3 years, there are people who are first-term members of parliament that we see, first-term associates of people in government who have grown multi-billionaires all of a sudden. first-time MPs, and like I said, there are very good MPs who do their job. But there are others who someone buys a helicopter and buys this and buys this, and we say it's out of business that you really can't track. And the thing that makes Kenyans really unhappy is when an MP is hovering over a funeral and throwing wads of cash at the public. Yet, when you go to Turkana, I was in Loyangalani last weekend, and you meet women who haven't eaten for 2 weeks, and we have a fresh lake, which we can't tap into, and they ask you, habari ya Kenya. But we're in 2025. We're talking about hospitals that do not have essential infrastructure. And then we talk about, okay, we are doing an equipment leasing scheme, and we are also asking questions around how do we procure this? How does it work out for us? And we look at all these contracts and we ask ourselves, when we are talking about the fight, and we are saying, I know, because that's what he said. That's what he said. That there is this person who's doing this. Ile pesa iliwafikia. Do you know it was meant for this and this and this? And then people say, can you name them? I think for me, it's about the Damascus moments that he talks about, but it's about leadership.
The intention, very briefly before I give Senator.
Yes, because I think he was interjecting to enrich or to raise questions. So, and he's questioning the commitment. The president has given an administrative framework of action by constituting that team. That team, multi-agency, is more of administrative. It wasn't intended to take over the roles of EACC and the rest. And that is the intention. I think as a country, we must have a proper administrative framework of action to combat
that we don't have already
corruption.
In the constitution.
Of course, we have EACC, but assigned by the constitution. But it will not be EACC alone that is going to work. You will need DPP, you will need NIS, you will need the goodwill of the government administration. And what the president constituted was more an administrative unit.
And because that matter is still before the
court.
Yes.
To advance the process of combating corruption wholesome in the entire country.
We don't want to produce
and I think,
whatever is before.
We must move from arguments and from words to action.
The issue
the president is already at a phase of action, but some are still doubting whether there is commitment. The president is at the forefront, and I think as a country, let us allow actions that have frameworks that have been put in place to combat corruption to work. It is time we fight.
Senator, it feels more like a knee-jerk reaction on the part of the president that all of a sudden now corruption is a big problem and it's crisis level. And probably that's why the Daily Nation has decided to actually look at the intention. What could be pushing the president towards this? Do you feel like probably even Parliament is just collateral damage here, that the president is trying to pacify other forces, and in that he just found himself provoking the kind of emotions that are there?
Those are theories by the Daily Nation and other people who are thinking, and it's a free country. You're free to think what you want, but I will tell you what we feel in the Senate. And as a legislator from the Senate, I'll tell you how I feel. And this I've also told the president, that you have information, and it is actually also in the public knowledge, that we have summoned governors in this Senate many times. We have found problems, and our constitutional role is not primary oversight. That primary oversight is for members of county assembly. But we have our role of secondary and final oversight. So when you are called before the Senate and you cannot account for 500 million, 300 million, 400 million, 150 million, you can't explain. And I remember in one particular sitting where we had brought in the governor of Tana River County before the Senate Committee on Public Accounts. And he was not able to explain. I remember very well the senators there saying that in other jurisdictions, you will not be leaving this meeting and going back home, waiting for a report. You would be detained down here in the cells. We have cells in Parliament. So you stay there and you wait to be processed. But in this country, unfortunately, you go home and then you wait for the next audit report. And you know what? The saddest thing is that within the Senate committees of public accounts, we also invite the ESCC. So the chair of ESCC today, the CEO of ESCC today, they have information from the Senate, proper information. And this one is as a result, you know, our recommendations, they come from the Office of the Auditor General. So the Auditor General brings those questions. And it's on the basis of those questions that we interrogate the governors. So it's not information that I generate myself as the senator of Tana River County. No, it is government information in the public realm. And then we interrogate, and you're not able to explain where this money is. And everyone can see there's some criminality here. You have DCI there. We know within the precincts of Parliament and even in these committees, people like NIS are there listening, you know. But ESCC is even a member of that committee, and people are paid allowances for attending those meetings, you know, government agencies, you know, but then there's no action. So the question then is, how can it be that 47 governors are not mentioned at all in the statements that the president is making? Why is he talking about the Senate and not the governors, you know? And yet we have given the interrogated information, you know, processed from the Office of the Auditor General. And then no action has been taken. I can tell you, since the current president has come in, to date, there's no governor who has been charged before a court of law, you know? And we are surprised because the information is there. You know.
That it says something about the tenure of William Ruto as president, that no serious corruption
from the
allegation
Senate,
has gone to court.
From the Senate, I'm telling you, I can't speak for National Assembly, but I can tell you from the Senate position, we are very disappointed that no governor, despite all this information, no governor has been thrown before court and with the information that is there.
Where do you lay the blame?
We lay the blame on the lack of action on the executive.
Okay.
So
it is the executive.
So he is the executive. The president is the head of the executive. He should have taken a few of these guys to court. Now, when you have a meeting where the former prime minister is also casting aspersions on the role of senators, and then you have the head of the executive, the president, not prosecuting governors, there's a reasonable...
Let's address that issue now.
There's a reasonable implication that maybe they had a sitting with governors. Yes. And the governors maybe informed them or told them, you know, you need to play on our corner. And we have you can reasonably infer that the executive is trying to lock horns against the...
Because we continue to gauge the intention of the president and the former prime minister and some of the pronouncements they made. And do you think that in their concurrence, because they appear to be having or to be instituting an assault on the Houses of Parliament, do you think, can you read behind the intention of their concurrence?
You see, like now, from where we sit, we think as a Senate that when a very senior politician, like of the stature of the Honorable Raila Odinga, a former prime minister, says that it stays a statement like, why should senators be asking questions, governors? You know, and the Constitution is so clear, you know, Article 96, so clear, and not just the Constitution, The Supreme Court has made this pronunciation. The High Court has made this pronunciation that we have to oversight these governors. And in fact, the High Court has said in the case of Chalo that the oversight must in fact come from external, which means not just the county assemblies, but the Senate. And they mentioned in the judgment of the court in that petition. So it's unfortunate when the former Prime Minister stands and speaks against the very constitution that he says he's protecting. And in the same breath, the President stands and he speaks against the Senate and does not mention his other executives who are the 47 governors. And we in the Senate have presented enough information to say there is a problem with the governors. But it seems like they have chosen to fight from the corner of the executive versus the members of the legislature. And from my understanding and from what I would recommend is that this corruption is a big thing. And it is not in the best interest of this country that instead of working together to deal with this matter, you start fighting potential allies.
It's the intention that I'm still missing. That what could be the intention from this very highly placed political leaders to approach the war on corruption, even trying to reevaluate the roles that different institutions play?
So
can you read the intention?
So the intention is something that, you know, you can't read the minds of people. You can only infer.
Yes.
But that's why I'm saying from the inference, it is like the executive has taken one corner. Governors are not being mentioned. He didn't mention cabinet secretaries. He didn't mention heads of parastatals, directors. The executive seems to have taken its own corner against the members of the legislature. And my take is that approaching the giant called corruption to slay it, and then you are causing internecine fights, then it doesn't help. What you need is a policy that says, let us do this, and this is the lead action. And on my part, this is what I have done. I have this information from the Senate, and the Senate Committee of Public Accounts has said this. So in keeping with that, I'm supporting the action that the EACC has recommended. Attorney General has looked at this file, so and so are facing arrest. Once he does that, then everybody will say the executive has done its part. Now tuangalie kama the judiciary will do its part. But it's not this thing of saying you are not doing your work, because your work is supposed to execute the information that we have given you.
In the interest of time, I'd want Bwana to make a comment on this. From a governor's perspective, a lot of finger pointing, as the senator says, in as far as who should be doing what, who should not be doing what. And it's in the approach of fighting corruption. But we say senators should not be doing this. You should not be the ones asking the question. It should be these ones. Aren't we losing the plot in all this finger pointing?
We are losing the plot. And it means Kenyans are on their own. And this is what also makes Kenyans very unhappy. Because when you look at the executive, like I mentioned, the president has got everything that he needs at his disposal. We don't need a technical committee. The law is there. The arms of government are there to support. Parliament, whether it's National Assembly or Senate, has got its duties, its oversight to the executive. The executive here also includes the county assemblies and the county governments. We have judiciary that then is supposed to take these people through due process and ensure they have their day in court. At the end of the day, without leadership that stems from the executive, without leadership that stems from the president, when your close allies then are the ones who are featured or are fingered, then we are losing the plot. And now it comes back to the point of it goes into the public and we all feel it's a way of life. Kenyans become resigned to it. it boils into lack of conversation. And what do we see the following day? We are protesting on the street. What do we see the following day? The cost of living has increased. And when that happens, then you send the police. And you say, the charges were not substantiated. You must take me to court. You must prove, you must. You know, when you do that, we are creating a space where people are not able to talk.
Okay.
And as soon as that happens and we have the country becoming quite tense, the country begins burning, and this then processes into a situation which spirals out of control.
And a final word, Mwalimu, on this. We've seen this war on corruption, knee-jerk reactions, and this is not the first time. The previous administration even fired a number of ministers, some of them are back in cabinet right now. None of them has ever been prosecuted. We get big headlines, people complain, then next week we do not have any headline to do with corruption.
This country deliberately chose to build harmony with corruption. And I would say for the entire period of independence, we've not deliberately fought corruption, because if we did, Kenya would be far much ahead, would be competing with the Asian tigers. And this argument that we are having, we are just getting into a conundrum that we don't seem to be determined to get out of. This conundrum. If we have to fight corruption, we must approach it whole as a country and agree we must deliberately fight it. Because if we were to deal with corruption so that we avoid wastage in the budget, losses in poor tax collection, tax evasions, and so many things, we would even be raising 5 trillion.
Do you agree that all that you've said is lacking in this administration?
But yes, like now the president is trying to show determination. It's an opportunity. To me, in strategy, this is an opportunity. Now, let the country set aside all other things and discuss corruption, and we come back to the table and recalibrate. Let's take advantage of the spirit of the president and come to the table. Like what Mukatana is talking about, what action are we taking about implicated and open evidence against governors, against people in executive offices, against maybe legislators who are accomplices to all these forms of corruption. Everyone must be punished. We have had EACC. It was Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission. It started with Moi. Do you know the first person who was appointed to chair? Haron Mwao. And now you question, was Moi really serious? That was playing PR. We had PLO Lumumba, who really wanted to get to the bottom of things, but he was kicked out. Corruption fights back. And this conundrum we are seeing might be corruption also fighting back. And to me, the ball that the president must not drop now, for whatever reason, is the agenda of corruption. In whichever way, even if the court has outlawed the multi-agency team, that does not stop the president from intentionally continuing to push criminalization of corruption. Okay. I agree with Mungatana. Those who have been summoned to the Senate, I think their residents should be at the cells, even as they are processed. And that is how we should take it. You know, Asian tigers. Yes. I was in Malaysia, and
sorry for that.
I was in Malaysia way back and visited many ministries, and we asked how do they deal with corruption. Okay. That one is covered in the Sharia law, and the moment you are implicated, you are processed very fast and hanged.
Okay,
that is always punished. So as a country, if we don't punish,
yes, we'll just be
and lawyers are very good in arguing,
we'll just be
you will see open criminals getting the best legal defense.
Yes. Bonarao, I think very final word on this.
Yeah, very final word for me is, I like what Mheshimiwa Sossion is saying, but I think we don't need dialogue. 2002, when Kenyans were voted the most optimistic people in the world, Kenyans were arresting traffic officers. Kenyans walked when Mishuki said seat belts and reform the matatu industry.
Where did we lose it?
Kenyans walked. We lost it at a leadership level. The moment we don't see the leadership coming from the top. And it's what he's saying, The moment we are simply backing and then we are not doing anything about it, the moment your close associates then are the ones who are accused, then people are asking themselves, you are saying this, you are robbing Peter to pay Paul. You are saying this about members of parliament, but we know so and so and so and so and so and so who have this. I don't think we need a conversation. I think we just need to investigate, I agree, take them through due process, but pick just 4 or 5 people and make an example out of them. Get their property, right? Let them pay. The moment that is done, you're showing people that you're serious about it.
Including members of parliament.
Yes.
Okay.
But can I say...
Like I said, just 1 minute.
We're out of time because we need to cover one more story.
Someone is waiting on the line. Like I said in the Muli, he didn't promise he was going to fight corruption. We kept asking in your manifesto, can you talk about this? Can you talk about this? Can you talk about this? When you walk with me and we are distributing 20 million shillings every Sunday, and we know you are a first-term member of parliament, you are a first-term governor, and you are on top of your, and then we say, "Ni God." That's what we say, right?
Can I say something?
Just a minute, yes. 1 minute.
I'm looking forward to the day, because what the president has done is to take leadership. It has ignited the whole thing, yeah? But I look forward to the day that EACC, which lacks prosecutorial power, can say, I have received this information and I have processed this file and I have forwarded to the office of the DPP for them to process this person to court. I am looking forward to the day Safaricom, BAT Kenya, Kenya Breweries, or whatever private organizations or private individuals would also stand and say, we have received a demand for a corruption bribe from X, and we have forwarded our complaint to the EACC for processing in newspapers, in the media, so that people can be serious about their roles. If EACC plays its role, if ODPP plays its role, if individuals in private sector play their roles, if individuals or organizations in the public sector that are being told to pay bribes play their role, then the judges play their role, then we are on the right trajectory.
And including members of parliament play their role.
Yes, everybody, I'm saying all institutions.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, indeed, matters corruption back on the front lines. Many had argued that for the first 3 years of President William Ruto's administration, corruption was not really on the headlines. This week, at least, and it came directly from the president. What kind of actions or consequence do we expect from this going forward? The president is away in Japan. We do expect that he'll also be heading to the US for the United Nations General Assembly in September. Could that be the main reason why there's a renewed push or fight against corruption? I want us to switch gears now and talk about something else that's on the front pages. This, on the Standard, thorn in the flesh. Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is set to return home today from his 40 days trip to the US. We do have Dr. Peter Mbai on phone. Dr. Mbai is Secretary Planning and Economic Affairs at the DCP, and his party leader is a former Deputy President. Dr. Mbai, good morning once again. Can you hear me? What are the plans for today's return by the former Deputy President?
Good morning, Fred, again, and the panel in studio. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you very clearly. Go ahead.
Very well. Yes, we are at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. 2 groups of people, some of us in the party. We have been here for some quite several hours, of course, to check out the issues on security, to liaise with the security people here, the Kenya Airports Authority, of course, protocol issues. Just to confirm, from yesterday we were here, and we were here very early in the morning, just to confirm that everything is okay. Of course, very important for the party leader. But also there are some people who came in quite early because there were fears that they will be blocked on the entry. So far, no blockage yet. I hope they will not. But of course, we have also told people, our supporters, not to come, all of them here. to wait for the party leader slightly outside. Maybe the leaders can come in. So we have been here. We have tried as much as possible to reach out. As you are aware, yesterday we did letters informing the Kenya Airports Authority that we will be coming, and some of the top leaders will be allowed in. We have requested they be allowed in, of course, to receive the party leaders deep inside the launch inside. And we have been, so far on our side, we hope for the best, that all will be well. After that, we'll receive him outside here, and we have informed the police on where we intend to go. Mainly CBD, we do our rallies inside there. And then, of course, other parts of the city. We hope for the best, Fred. And this is one place we are saying we are all set for everything, for anything. We know we have our teams in Kisumu, we have our teams in Mombasa, Witi, just in case they will not allow the plane to land here. Okay. We are prepared. Also, the other important issue to mention is that there are many of our supporters who have wanted to be here. Of course, there are hundreds of thousands. So we have encouraged them to remain in the counties. Here we expect about 20,000 to 30,000 people especially from Kajiado, a big number, Nairobi, big number, Kiambu, big number, Murang'a, surrounding counties, others from Nakuru and others. But others, we have encouraged them to set up screens, like Meru, Embu, Nakuru, Kisumu, far-flung areas, Mombasa, to follow the proceedings from there. That's what we have done. But of importance, Fred, what I would want to say today, we are very clear, and I want to say this categorically as one of the leaders of DCP, that we are for peace. We want Kenyans to enjoy peace. We don't want our political activities, in any case, to interfere with the peace, the issues of economy, school-going children, health, going to school and all that. We want people to be alive for 2027. All right. That is a commitment I want to make, and I want the same commitment I'm making. All the parties in the broad-based and the president and government should be able to say the same thing, so that if we are saying we are going around the city or whatever we are going to have to meet our people, we simply be around to do it.
All right,
There's freedom of expression. That's the issue. Yes.
You had raised concerns through the party about probably anticipated mistreatment by security agencies upon return, probably even demands that the former deputy president signs or goes and records a statement due to some remarks he made in the US. Do you have any assurances from the police that today's events will go unhindered? Secondly, you said you wrote to the Kenya Airports Authority asking for use of the Is it the presidential pavilion at the airport? Have you been given a go-ahead?
Thank you. You have two questions. One, Fred, it is very unfortunate that the CS Point area literally publicly said that they are going to hold our party leader, and he'll be asked to go and record a statement. He said that publicly. Now, we cannot take that lightly. So what we are saying is that the party leader promised that he's going to report the date, and here we are. The date is today, and the time is noon. So however, we cannot say that we have been talking to security people because they receive instructions from elsewhere. What we are saying is that they dare not touch him because there's no reason to touch him. And number two, there's no reason for him to do any statement, because if the party leader is going to do any statement, he is going to do the statement from the committee in Senate in the US that is supposed to take back a report in 90 days. And I want to be very clear, Fred. The people who are accused of killing our young people, kidnapping them, is the government of Kenya. And the people who are accused of these things to do with the RSF is the government of Kenya. So there's no way we can come back. The party leader can come back, begin doing statements. So let us stop these issues of toying around with issues of arresting people, and you see, these words are coming from senior government officials. That's not very accountable. It's not very responsible, because what are you telling Kenyans? So number one, Fred, here we are. This is the day. We have not talked to anybody about arresting or not. It's for them to know whether they are arresting him. But here we are, so that we can know what's happening. And that's why he came on broad daylight. He didn't come at night. But number two, we wrote a letter. It's a matter of courtesy that we may not all get in, but about 10 leaders, can they get in and receive the party leader deep inside? And of course, we have not received any reply. We are hoping they are going to cooperate. And that's why we are here since early hours, to see how it goes. I mean, it's just a matter of courtesy. And of course, the issue of going around wherever we are going to go, The law just tells us to notify the police, which we have done. And we ask them to simply just note that we are going to be around there to provide security. And we are condemning, we are just hoping and praying that please, anybody who has any intention, the work of police is to root out anybody with any intention of taking advantage of the procession to cause chaos and loot and cause violence.
Right.
The police should know that they have NIS. Let them just root out those people so that we can finish our procession and go home
Final
in the
question,
evening,
Dr.
all of us.
Final question, Dr. Mbai. I know the former deputy president indicated that his main agenda will be the by-elections that are coming up. But what else will be top priority once he returns? There's been a general lull in the opposition circles.
One, thank you so much. Yes, the major agenda, of course, is the by-election. As you know, the 90 days are begin ticking. There are a lot of compliance issues that the new party, of course, being a new party, that it has to do. And some of them will need NEC meetings. It will need a lot of guidance and direction by the party leader. So one of the major reasons, of course, he would have been there for another 1 month or so, up to mid-September. But we have strict timelines. Some of them as strict as in a week's time that we must comply with, that need NEC meetings, which we are going to be having next week. I know that's number one. But I don't think, Fred, there has been what people would call a lull or some inactivity in opposition. Remember, our opposition leaders from all the parties in the official opposition, everybody have their own style of leadership. Remember, okay, our party leader, DCP, may have his own style of engagement. Other people have their own style of engagement. And everybody have their own gift and talent differently. So I don't want to say that there has been some inactivity. Or what I'm saying is that everybody is bringing their synergy in a certain way. And all this is what now finally will make the official opposition strong. And of course, towards our goal of one term.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Peter Mbai. Dr. Peter Mbai is the Secretary Planning and Economic Affairs, DCP. He is already at the JKIA, awaiting the return of a former Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, who's been away from the country on a 40-day tour of the U.S. He said he's cutting short his trip to come and attend to so many different matters, key among them the by-elections that are coming up. And we'll be getting more details from Dr. Mbai as we go along throughout this morning. The former Deputy President is expected to have landed at the JKIA by midday today. Back to my panelists this morning in studio, even as you comment on the anticipated return of Rigathi Gachagua, as you make your final comments. We start with you, Mwalimu. Final comments on the issues we've discussed, and of course, I'm sure you want to say something about Bwana Gachagua. The opposition has been very quiet in his absence, don't you think?
I think primarily, in communication it's good when you focus. We don't have a shared focus. Today you chose the item of fighting corruption in this country. And I think that is where Kenyans should focus their minds. And as I've said, we must move from words to action. We must criminalize corruption at all levels. It cannot be that corruption goes on only in one arm of government. It's in all arms of government. If it is judiciary, there is corruption. Very rampant. If it is executive, there is. If it is parliament, there is. Let's agree. At least for once, let us have a Damascus moment as a country and collectively face the dragon of corruption decisively, without exceptions. Anyone involved should be fully criminalized. Mm-hmm. We have institutions that are able to do so. EACC can investigate. DPP can prosecute. The judicial institution can process first. Probably even the Law Society needs to go back and retreat and begin discussing to what extent do they really represent obvious cases that are involved in corruption. We must have an expeditious way of empirically punishing those involved with corruption.
Do you think the opposition has an opportunity to enrich this conversation?
I don't think this is the time to drive the country to a conundrum of confusion. We must get to a zone of clarity. And the president should be allowed to lead
Do you think
administrative action.
the alternative voices
of government.
represented in what they call the united opposition could enrich this conversation?
No, it is everyone.
In any way?
It is everyone, whether in opposition or in government.
Okay.
It's a collective thing. It's a cancer that affects everyone. There are issues that must unite the country at all times. And for patriotic reasons, we must accept to be patriotic when we are speaking on a common plate, all of us. As for the return of Rigathi, that is no news. It's inconsequential. I think he has flopped in the States. He has not driven any convincing message. And we have seen the citizens at the state asking very hard questions and dismissing. So his return, these are just but mere drama that will be forgotten at the end of the day. But what is important is that Kenyan politics have moved out of ethnicity completely. Okay. We are no longer a country driven by ethnic bigotry and ethnic slavery when it comes to politics.
All right.
Kenyans are passionate with issues, and because Kenya belongs to all of us, all ethnic communities. So to me, it would be beautiful to see this country emancipate itself from ethnic slavery, ethnic politics, and we drive decent, clean, issue-based politics that are very supportive to economic transformation.
Thank you so much. Senator, you go next.
If you look at how politicians affect the politics of the country when they return, that is significant politicians, what comes to my mind is the time Kenneth Matiba was coming back, and we were younger then, and he had been unwell, and he was the leader of a political party that had split from the original Ford. Mm-hmm. So his reception at the airport was significant, because after that, I think the most significant statement he made was when he was asked, is the opposition going to be united? Mm-hmm. He said, let the people decide. And that became the slogan for him. Well, they didn't get the coveted price of State House. They didn't beat Moi because it ended up being a fragmented opposition. When former President Mwai Kibaki again was coming back, he was unwell because of the accident, but he came back to other significant politicians receiving him in a united manner, and we were actually at that time under the leadership of Raila, because all opposition was now united. Mm-hmm. And that's the first time also I was coming in into Parliament. So you can see Matiba's return was received by his loyalists, and it really boosted his own personal ego. And he went on to say, let the people decide. And then it went, fragmented the opposition, and they never won. Contrast that with Honorable Mwai Kibaki's return. Significant politicians from all over were all waiting for him to come. And of course, later on, he was sworn into the State House. So somebody here just wants to replay some card and feel good about himself. There's no significant politician who is going to be there to receive him. But his praise singers and the choir will be there to receive him. They will clap for him, they will make the noise, they will dance, they will do what. But in the scale of things, it's not changing anything, because his politics, his brand of politics is tribal. His brand of politics is segregative. It is his brand. He's branded himself as a person who speaks for one region of Kenya. In fact, significantly one tribe, and he is branded himself in a manner that I will personally not vote for him, and many people from my area, because he has branded himself in a way that doesn't speak for the entire country. And I know I was one of the first people to say, when I was filing the censure motion at the Senate, even before the motion of impeachment, and I think we even discussed it here, I said, the way the current deputy president, and at that time I had no intentions of voting him out, I was just saying, the way the current deputy president is going, speaking for one area, then I think we should amend the constitution. So I have my own vice president from the coast. There should be a vice president from Rift Valley, a vice president from the lakeside, a vice president for him, he's already from the mountain, and so on. Because his branding has brought a problem. So any person, any people who are speaking now, for me there's a block. And I know for many...
You don't think they would enrich this conversation about corruption that we've taken so much time to talk about? Well, he's just going to say,
oh, Mount Kenya, we were not included in the list of those who are corrupt, we should have been included, you know, we have not. He was talking now Mount Kenya business and whatever. His tenor is very unfortunate. And he, according to me, he would have contributed significantly to the politics of this country. Mwai Kibaki was sacked from the presidency, from the vice presidency. He formed a political party, and we followed him. Me, I was in DP, and at no time did I feel excluded. Because the when you see that someone is saying, let us fix the economy, let us do this, without saying my area, that he would have made a lot of contribution. But it's what we have. So the praise singers can be there, and I hope they won't be disturbed because they are just singing a choir for their master. And they go home, feel good, and they go home.
Thank you, Senator. Bwana Orao, final word on this.
Fred, for me, I think Kenyans just want this country to work. The young people in Nakuru, a partner that we work with, Amplify Youth Action Kenya, simply want university education to work for them. The women down at the coast want matters violence against women addressed. People are talking about cost of living and daily bread and butter issues. We need to see a leadership that goes beyond the talk. We need to have all voices on the table, but we need to see leadership that goes beyond the talk. If we're able to address the unemployment crisis, and we keep talking about that, if we can see that I pay tax, but I am able to get medication in hospital, so that the story I'm seeing here about someone who passed on because SHA did not work for them, if those kinds of issues are able to be addressed, I think we would be able to have a more sober conversation as a country. We began campaigning too early. What's going on today is still campaigns. We have a whole 2 years before August 2027. The President and Cabinet have got the mandate to work on behalf of Kenyans. Senator Mungatana, because you sit in Parliament, we would challenge you to still keep government on toes, to make sure that the right things get done. And when these people are brought before and you have every instrument that is required for you to be able to pin people down, then we'll challenge EACC and challenge the police. Because until we're able to address unga, until we're able to address fuel, until we're able to address school fees and cost of cancer drugs, we will not have a country.
Thank you so much, Samson Orao, a governance expert, and he's the Interim Executive Director at ActionAid Kenya. Thank you so much for your time at TV47. Also, asante sana, Senator Danson Mungatana, all the way from Tana River. Asante sana for coming in. And Mwalimu Wilson Sosion, who has served as a member of the National Assembly and also as SG of the National Union of Teachers, KNUT. Thank you so much. Also, a quick thank you to Dr. Peter Mbai, who joined us via video link from the JKIA. He's the Secretary of Planning and Economic Affairs, DCP, as he anticipates the return of the party leader, Rigathi Gachagua, later this morning. The headlines today, of course, the big one on the Standard, thorn in the flesh. Rigathi Gachagua returns, and the continuing debate on corruption, secrets of MPs bribery scandal on the front page of the Daily Nation. The other headlines on the other papers simply mirror what we've seen. So yes, those are the big discussions today. We look forward for better headlines tomorrow. My name is Fred Indimuli. Good morning.